I am Zachary Copenhaver, and I'm a computer engineering major here.
My name is Brody MacDonald, and I'm a robotics engineering major with a minor in computer science.
We are going to be talking a bit about communications between humans and machines and how AI can understand humans. So, the first step in developing a useful generative AI is utilizing natural language processing to allow plain language inputs. How can this be achieved?
So we can start utilizing natural language processing through there are it's like a it's technically called like the acronym is NLP, which is natural language processing. But basically, we can set up a model for an AI that takes inputs. You input a bunch of data in natural language for it to process, and some of this data can be processed and some of this can be unprocessed. And the goal is to teach the AI how to read in a natural language based on however much data you can give it, basically. And a lot of fine tuning and like it's gonna require a lot of data to properly understand complete natural language. But over time, through inputs and prompts and other methods, it will slowly get better and better at understanding these natural language prompts. And eventually, it will be able to read almost any natural language that it has been taught to a reasonably well extent. It also can, based on the data inputted, it can also respond in natural language. And depending on how thoroughly you train the AI, it will sound near human. There's obviously going to be some problems with that, and it will not be perfect every time, but depending on how much data is inputted, it can be pretty close.
Is there a point at which we can stop aiding the AI in learning these languages, or where it can start learning them on its own?
So, to an extent, we can leave once an LLM develops enough of a database that it has a baseline understanding. It can sort through data based on previous inputs and stuff, but to an extent is really the issue because as you input data, it is going to learn continuously, but there are things like errors can happen. And if we allow an AI to self-learn basically, and it finds or like there's an error that occurs, it will basically propagate through the rest of the data that's sorted, and that can cause a lot of issues in terms of processing natural language. So like if one chunk of data that's being inputted in like into a database is interpreted wrong by the AI, it will use that as a reference for the next obviously data sets that are entered, and it can propagate through the rest of the data that's used.
Yeah, so like one bad input can kind of ruin a whole lot of the data processing.
Yeah, it can cause a lot of issues. I know a lot of um once like large language models get large enough, they can basically be reliable enough that you don't have to monitor it. As like with things like ChatGPT, the amount of like databases that are filled with correctly sorted data is large enough that it can catch an error and notice it, and it will correct it based on that.
When AI is given a prompt, what is parsing and why is it so crucial to getting a proper response from the AI?
So parsing is what the AI will do when it receives a prompt or a data, like a set of data. And basically what it does is it goes through basically character by character, and it will categorize them based on, it starts off with it's technically a pre-parsing step, and it will go through and separate words, punctuation, um, like pauses in a sentence, that sort of thing. And then the actual parsing step is where it will go through and it will label each chunk of or block of characters, and it will label it as either like a noun, a verb, and through that it will read in the data that is being entered, and it can convert it into something that it can understand and effectively give a proper response based on that.
Okay. And what are some ways that natural language processing is being implemented in businesses right now?
So a lot of companies are using AI and chatbots with natural language processing for online like help assistance. Like instead of having a an actual person or a technician sit on the computer and wait for like an input from someone, they'll use AI, and based on um, like the data that the company has and has inputted into the LLM, it can effectively be faster and more accurate in terms of responding to a customer. So if a customer has like a very specific question about a very specific product a company sells, an AI will take way less time to sort through all of the company's records and find, not with 100% accuracy, but it will find an answer for the person much more rapidly than, say, just a sales technician. They're also using it for things like translation. So if like a company expands globally and they don't have necessarily a large branch in another country at that point, they can use AI to translate like customer concerns or like advertisements. They can put into an AI and it will translate into the natural language of the region that they're in.